Start over. Hi, everybody. This is Neshi Lilkatz. Glad you could join us on Star Nations Radio Network and Magazine fan page on Facebook. We're doing a live stream. And you're with me and my good friend, Amantha Murphy. And she is a spiritual teacher and leader and group tour leader from County Kerry, Ireland. Amantha and I have known each other for many years, and I thought maybe you'd like to hear our chat about ancient Irish shamanism. And if you have any questions for Amantha, you can always type them into the comment, and I'll be able to see them. But Amantha is with us today from Ireland. She's from home, and she is going to be chatting with me and us about Irish shamanism, and she's coming to us from County Kerry, Ireland. Hi, Amantha, are you there?
Hi, Neshi, I am. Hello, everybody.
Good. Excellent. So we're doing a live stream on Facebook at our fan page for the magazine and radio. And so I'm hoping that our listeners, people tuning in to see what we're chatting about, will let us know that our audio is good for them. So we'll be able to chat about something that I think a lot of people find interesting and helpful on their spiritual path. And that's Irish shamanism. And Amantha, if you could share with us a little bit about that. And the reason why we're even doing this is because Amantha is going to be with us at Star Nations Academy. She's going to be with us teaching part 2 of ancient Irish shamanism in Lowell, Michigan at Star Nations Academy East. And she'll be here at Academy West on the weekend of October 13th, teaching the part 1 of that class. So, Amantha, could you share with us a little bit about what is Irish shamanism?
Yes, and the reason I use the word ancient Irish shamanism, Neshi, is that this is a tradition that goes back beyond the Celts. A lot of people think often that the story of Ireland started with the coming of the Celts. In actual fact, the Celts were our last successful invasion in Ireland, and we had different tribal people here before that.
Right.
And so this tradition goes back as old as the memories and as old as our native stones and stone circles and megalithic tombs, which would be, approximately 8 to 10,000 years old.
Right, 8 to 10,000.
8 to 10,000 years, and actually they're now, because in Ireland we're at this pivotal point in our story here where archaeologists are actually beginning to be able to prove the existence of things that we've always known in our myths and in our stories, because Ireland is an Irish, we are an oral tradition, and we all grew up with the stories. And at this very time now, they're actually been able to prove the existence of a lot of things that for us has always been held in our stories. So last year it was 8 to 10,000 years, and this year it's 10 to 12,000 years. And so who knows what it'll be next year.
Well, I know. We were just in Ireland through Mystic Travels about a month ago. And one of our last visits to, I think it's called Carramore.
Carramore,
yeah, and the oldest dolmens in Ireland, and I think they're dated at 5,000 BC.
Yes, well, they're actually much older now. Yes, they're actually starting to say they're much older than that. And also, what's interesting is in our stories, our first people came in from the West, whereas we were always told, that was not possible. They had to have come in from the East. They must have come in from mainland Europe.
Right.
And now they're actually, have proved that they did first of all come in the West, and actually some of the very first people came into Carramore, and they travelled from the West to the East.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It is fascinating. It is. The more we find out, the more we don't know. Which
That's
I just
true.
think is wonderful.
Yeah, me too.
It brings the mystery so much more closer to us.
Me too. One of the things.
Yeah.
One of the things.
So you asked about what is ancient Irish shamanism.
Yeah.
And in our tradition, we have three worlds, and we live within those three worlds, and within and around those three worlds, we're all very aware that we share this space with others, those in the unseen world, those that lie in the space betwixt and between. So for us in Ireland, the fairy folk, the leprechauns are still very real. The fairy forts are still very real and very present in our tradition, in our lives, and in our realities. People will not knock down a fairy fort. People will be very cautious of even walking through one because they know it belongs to the fairy folk. We don't cut down the hawthorn trees because the hawthorn trees belong to the fairies.
Right.
You never bring a piece of hawthorn into the house. And if someone did cut down a tree, then everybody around them would be like praying for them, really, to protect them for, you know, what they did to the fairies.
Right.
So that place of betwixt and between is very real to us here. And because you've been here, you've probably experienced that yourself, Nessie, when you're on your trip.
Yes.
How close we are here, how the veil is so thin between the worlds. And so our tradition is really accessing those worlds, accessing them to help us to become more of who we are meant to be. So we work, first of all, in what we call the lower world. And if you can visualize people a tree, and to recognize that as high and as wide are the branches of the tree, is as low and as deep are the roots. But we often don't see the roots of the tree. We recognize the shoots, we recognize the branches, but we often forget the roots that go down deep. And yet if it didn't have those roots, the tree wouldn't be held within the earth. The tree wouldn't be able to grow. The tree wouldn't be able to give us the flowers and the fruit. And so we need our roots. Our roots are very important to us. And so our roots is our lower world. And our lower world, our roots, are our ancestors. They are what hold us in this realm. They are what holds us and feeds us. And we have within us patterns that we take on from our ancestors, not just in our build and our colouring, but also patterns that are instinctive to our nature. And some of those patterns are very good patterns. They're healthy. They're strong, you know. Our ancestors survived. If they hadn't, we wouldn't be here. So we have a lot to thank them for. We have a lot that we can draw from. And there are other patterns, other roots that hold us that aren't so healthy.
Right.
Roots that we have also taken on from our ancestors that instinctively we play out in our lives. And so that's one of the things we work with in the lower world. We go to our ancestors. We ask to see, or we access, what are those roots that no longer serve us. Because they're taking energy from us rather than feeding us.
Right.
And then in the middle world, what we call the middle world, this reality, or very similar to this reality, is like the trunk of a tree. And in this reality, it's to do with the elementals, the elements. It's to do with the Celtic wheel, and as you would have in your tradition, Nessie, the medicine wheel.
Right.
It's to do with soul retrieval and cutting the ties. It's to do with creating your reality, taking responsibility for creating your reality. Are you actually creating your reality? Are you actually living your life, or are you observing life? Are you actually eating and drinking of life? You know, that's the middle world. It's our place of being. And how we are, how we operate in this reality, and how we bring our lives, as in L-I-V-E-S, into this life now, because that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to bring all that we are into this place of being, to live in the place of the I am,
Right.
to be fully cognizant, fully conscious within every second of every moment. And that's the middle world. And then we have the upper world, which is the branches of the tree, the shoots of the tree, and that's the place of spirit, our connection with our spirit helpers and our own spirit self. And so we work on balancing those together, and we always start in the lower world, because if the roots are not strong, then the trunk will not be strong,
Right.
the branches will not grow strongly.
Right. Right.
And a lot of people, especially in this good old New Age now, you know, have gone straight up into the shoots, straight up into the branches, wanting to connect with spirit, which is beautiful. You know, we are human beings, we are spirit in matter. But if you don't have the rootedness to hold you, if you don't have the depth, if you don't know what you carry, even if you haven't yet come to that place within yourself where you're ready to let go of it, if you don't know what you carry, then that will weaken you.
Yes.
That will weaken you on your journey. And you can become ungrounded. You can become dippy. You know, what some people call dippy divas.
Yes.
Where you lose your connection to this middle realm. You lose your connection to living, creating, attracting what it is you need in life.
Yeah. I you know, when I took the class last year with you, it was very profound because many of us there didn't have the blood lineage in the physical world in this life to a Celtic or Irish DNA, but we had past lives to it. And so when you talk about, you know, lives, plural, Lives, that's what I went to, was accessing past life in the Irish and the Celts, and bringing that forward and looking at that, and how does that help me in this lifetime as a Native American woman?
Yes.
Right, and so the class really helped with the roots.
Yes.
The roots, yeah.
Yes. And also, you know, it is pre-Celtic, this tradition, but it isn't a tradition that is held just here. I mean, you know, anybody that knows Irish people well or has been to Ireland will realise that, you know, things fit as they're meant to fit, rather than it has to be a dogma. It's not a dogmatic way of being. We don't have a dogmatic way of thinking. And so even though this is the ancient Irish tradition, it fits whoever you are and wherever you come from.
Yeah, I have to agree.
It's a tool. They're tools to help you to be who you are, to be more real to yourself. And the thing is also, you know, it is yourself you're doing this for.
Yes.
By doing this for yourself, you are affecting the whole of humanity. Because each one of us is a part of this fabric that is part of this living planet. And when each one of us shifts in consciousness, shifts in awareness, that affects the whole of the fabric. That affects the whole of the weave. And so rather than going out and looking to serve others, stand still, breathe out, and feel your connection deep down. And allow that presence to flow through you, and allow that to connect in with others. And you'll find that quite often that is all that we need to start the ball rolling for ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. You know, one of the things that you said in your explanation of Irish shamanism and how it affects us in our everyday life.
Yes.
One of the things that you said, and I see it so often, is that when we're learning and we're trying to experience our spiritual path awake, conscious, is we go directly to what you call the branches, to the spirit realm. And we're so interested in that, and connecting and spending time up there in the branches, more than we do in our physical life, in the trunk part of our lives, the current life, or understanding in our connection to our roots, our ancestors, which is our base.
Yeah, and the power of our ancestors, the power, you know, they have been through so much, they went through so much, they learned and evolved and struggled, they went through famines, and they went through war, and through all of that, you know, they survived.
Yes.
They survived. And we have the ability to access that in recognition, in honor of them. So when we stand and hold ourselves for who we are, we're standing for them too.
Yes. Yes, we are. Yeah, we are. In my tradition, we're taught that whatever we do affects 7 generations.
Yes.
And in the work that I've done with students and people who've come to me is I know that we affect our ancestors. When we heal those aspects of ourselves, we also heal for them. And then we also heal our descendants. So that they don't have to carry that part of the pattern that doesn't serve. They don't have to carry that.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've seen that. I mean, over the years, I've worked with many people, and I've worked with some families as well, and how the patterns evolve through the families. I might start with one person, and because of what comes up, the husband might come, the children might come, the elder might come as well, and we begin to, unravel this weave that has come down through the generations. And it can come out as many things. It can come out as any form of addiction, control, melancholy, depression, even to the point of miscarriages. I worked with a family of 3 generations where they had many miscarriages before they got pregnant, and having to go back through the line there to heal what was there, to honor it, to have a ritual around it.
Right.
And in doing so, the young woman was able to go on and get pregnant, So it does make a difference.
It does. And I do know that we get a little bit of a feedback, just so you guys know who are watching and listening to us. We're aware of the feedback, especially when I talk. So it's good that we can hear Amantha pretty darn clear. One of the things that I know is that those of us who have Celtic, Irish heritage, that many people, especially in the United States, we've lost that that connection. Sometimes even in the genealogy, there's this break in the information, and they don't know what happened to, the third great grandmother or something like that. And so I would imagine taking classes like this will also help heal those aspects as well.
Yes, and also, when you do a journey, a lower world journey, and a journey is very different to a meditation. It's not guided. You're guided to a certain point, and then you go forth and you call upon your teacher, and your teacher takes you in your journey. Quite often people will experience an ancestor, and I've had at least 2 people now one of them who was adopted, and the other didn't know her second generation backwards, onwards, and both of them went on to research and found one of them actually was given a photo of her grandmother. This was the adopted woman. Was actually given a photo of her grandmother, her maternal grandmother, when she eventually found her aunt, her maternal aunt, and it was the ancestor that had come to her in her journey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I thought that was lovely.
Yeah, what a blessing.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm sure you hear and people tell you their stories like similar to that or something all the time. Because I know that you've taught this class, both the shamanism, and I think you helped us out here at Star Nations by giving us the first part of the class, and then so that we can offer the second part this year.
Yes.
And I'm sure that I know you've taught this class many times, different places, both here in the United States and Canada, and of course Ireland.
Yes.
And so the kind of stories you must hear about these connections and healings must be many.
It is. And at the same time, it's very I'm always very awestruck. I'm always very humbled to be present when something occurs like that, because I'm facilitating the space for it, and it's the person that is allowing themselves to step into that and to go through it.
Yeah, that's brave. It's
and
really brave.
I'm always in deep respect of that.
Yeah, because it is. It's brave to step out there and reach back for that ancestral knowledge. And it's even braver when you start applying it to your current life.
Yes, and it does affect your current life. And it does affect, the patterns. What are the things that you seem to attract into your life? Whether it's in your relationships, whether it's in your job, it's in your home, and it could be either or any or all of the above, and they're patterns that have evolved, and often they've evolved through the generations.
Right.
And so once one begins to recognize it, to see it, to understand it, you shift in consciousness. And when you shift in consciousness, you have the opportunity to take responsibility, which is the ability to respond. It's not a heavy thing. Most people think responsibility or it's a burden, but it isn't. It's the ability to respond within the moment, not to react, but to respond. And so when you take that shift in consciousness, you move from reaction, which is completely tied into patterns, into responding, which is seeing the situation for what it is and choosing how you wish to engage or not within that situation. And as soon as you do that, the universe changes everything for you. You're in a new game plan,
Yeah, and that's the exciting part, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's exciting in that we know that now. It's exciting in that we have that opportunity now to do that for ourselves, whereas people didn't necessarily know that 50 years ago or 100 years ago, but we know it now. And not just do we know it, but quantum physics is often proving these things too.
Yeah.
So that makes it even more exciting.
Yeah, it does. And we have Jolene Van Koning. She's joining us. And we also have Kelly Spencer. You met Kelly. Kelly is our executive.
Hi, Kelly.
Yeah.
Yes, the wonderful chef.
Yes. Kelly is our executive chef here at Star Nations. And
Hi, Jolene.
Yeah. I just wanted to give those dates again when Amantha's going to be here for Star Nations Academy. Star Nations Academy East is October 7th through the 9th, and that's in Lowell, Michigan. And here at Star Nations Academy West, Toma, Wisconsin, she's here October 14th through the 16th. So just to have those dates. And if you're interested in the class at all, you can just go to starnations.org and go to the Academy page, and you'll get all the information, all the stuff you need. And Amantha, if you could share with us your website in case somebody wants to go and see what your work is all about in more detail.
Sure, absolutely. So my website is Celtic Soul Journeys, that's with a YS.com.
Okay.
CelticSoulJourneys.com.
All right. And after we're done with the live feed and all that, I'll get that typed in as a comment for you guys so that you know what it is.
Thank you.
And Kelly's scene is going to be an action-packed and deep few days, and she says, "I cannot wait."
Well, it'll be nice to see you again, Ken.
And just to let you know, Amantha, is that the Part 2 class, I think we have a couple seats left, but you'll be seeing a lot of familiar faces in that class.
Lovely.
Yeah, because for our listeners, you do have to have Part 1 to take Part 2. And so you'll have some familiar faces, I believe, in Part 1, but a lot of new faces, too. So they'll be nice. Yeah. Paul, my husband, Paul was wondering why we weren't doing this live feed from up at the Academy.
Yes.
And I told him that I wanted to make sure that we had a really good connection. And so I could be connected into the router.
Yeah.
And so we're going to work on being able to do that up at the Academy, so I can do these live feeds, these live chats with some really cool people with to get information out up from the Academy. So I could even show you around a little bit up at the Academy.
Yeah.
So, Amantha, do you have anything else you'd like to share with our listeners that you'd like them to know that I haven't asked you about?
Well, in the workshops of level 1, normally we would look at journeying. I explain how to journey. I lead you into the journeying. We look at journeying to know our ancestral totems and ancestral teachers. And in our tradition, we would have a totem in the lower world, the middle world, and the upper world. So the ancestral totem would be the totem that is the totem of our tribe. So, for example, I'm a Murphy, Ni Maraku in Irish, and so my ancestral totem would be a lion for the Murphys. So you have an ancestral totem that comes to you in the lower world, which is either from your father's people or your mother's people or your father's mother's people or your mother's mother's people.
Yeah.
And then you have a totem in the middle world, which isn't always a four-legged, eight-legged, many-legged, winged or finned. It could also be a fairy, an elf.
That makes sense.
A mermaid or a merman.
Yeah.
They also too are totems, and when we say totems, we mean a helper that comes to you from that realm to help to reflect back to you aspects of yourself.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
And,
it really does.
And they would be, totem to us would be a long-term ally. It would be one who's with you for a very long period.
Yeah.
Whereas an ally could be one that's with you for 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 years. So that would be the difference. And then the upper world would be your spirit guide and helper.
Yeah.
And so we would look at that. Normally I would look at your energy levels. If you remember last year I did it through drumming, Neshi. So I would look at the energy, where you are right now energetically, what might be blocked or what might be holding, so that I could give you some tools to carry away with you, things that we've worked with, things that I can share with you on that level. And we would use drumming, we'd use rattling. And each group is different.
Yes.
So even though, say somebody does level 1 last year and can't come to level 2 this year and wonders about level 1, it could be quite different, because I sit with the group and then I allow the energy of the group, what I call the weave, the dynamic, the vibration that comes together to really begin to show where we need to go.
Yeah.
So I have certain things that I'm holding to, but I'm not holding them tight that this is what we have to do.
Sure.
I'm waiting for them to unfold into what is meant to be.
And it's very interesting who shows up for what classes, because I really do believe we come together as soul groups to do this kind of work. And so you might not know the person or the people in the room at a physical level, but at a soul level, you've known them for a really long, long time.
Absolutely. There's no mistakes anymore.
No.
No, absolutely. Our soul knows, and our soul prepares us for that.
Yep. I believe so.
And one of the big things we're doing now is actually connecting with our soul families. We're connecting on a, if you like, a soul tribal level.
Yeah, I like that.
And when we connect, we're not just connected with each other, but that energy flows through us for all that we touch too, and we move on. Because we don't go back afterwards. You can't go back.
No.
In our tradition, one never go back.
You go forward.
It's a spiral. We walk a spiral path.
Right.
So after the workshop, you will go on to your home again, but you will spiral on. So you don't go back home. You go on.
And that makes sense too, because the Earth travels in a spiral around the universe. Why wouldn't we travel in a spiral?
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? One thing before we end our little chat here, Amantha, I wanted to share something. is when you said in the middle world is for our totem, that our totem could be from the fairy realm, from the fae, right?
Yes.
Years ago, I want to say it was like early 90s or so. Whenever going to bed, going to sleep, whenever I just closed my eyes, I was still awake, I'd close my eyes, and I would see this fairy that had kind of lavender, I don't know, kind of gauzy kind of dress, and those 1970s style bridesmaid hats, those big floppy ones.
Yes.
With flowers around the brim. I would see this being for every time I'd close my eyes to go to sleep, and so finally I had to ask, "Who are you?"
Yes.
And she told me her name, and she told me that she'd been with me for a long time, and it was time that we met. And and I wasn't even really in a meditation mode. I was just relaxing to be able to try to go to sleep.
Yes.
So I was kind of not quite in between worlds quite yet. I was awake enough to know that, hey, this is real. This is something.
Yes.
And I was a little, at the first time, I was really kind of, fairy. So when you said that, I thought, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yes, she was with you.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah. I grew up talking to the fairies here. Where I live on this hill, we have underground tunnels, which first Celts, when they came, they used them to hide when further Celtic tribes came, because, of course, they were a warring people. Mm-hmm. And as a child, I would go down there and I would see the fairies. Oh. They'd come as bright lights. Yeah. And my cousins talk about being so frightened. I'd take them down and they'd see the lights and they'd go running off, Yeah. And I would stay there and chat away to them, Uh-huh. And that was just so real. I mean, my granny making bread, putting out some of the sour milk, to the fairies, so that the bread would rise. All of that was just so real to us all here,
Right. And the fae are just not in Ireland.
No, they're not. They're all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, everywhere. And every time you leave a piece of land and you just throw wild seeds out and just don't put in a lot of iron around it, because they hate iron. Mm-hmm. You can call them back. Yeah. And just as we are evolving, Neshi, now in our reality, we're evolving from reflection, projection into moving into the essence of self. So too, everything on every dimension and every level is evolving. Right. Not the only ones. Everything, the planet, the universe, the multiverse, everything is evolving. And the fairy folk are evolving too. And they never had a choice before as to whether to work with nature or not. They never had that choice. Now they have. Oh, really? So it's up to us now to ask them to come and work with us. It's up to us to invite them into our gardens and into our fields, So that conscious invitation. Absolutely. Invite them in. Leave gifts for them, And so our listeners are wondering, what kind of gifts? Well, I was brought up with bread and butter and sugar sandwiches that we'd leave them. And in today's world, we leave them a bit of chocolate or nice bit of soda bread, an apple, anything of that nature. And do you find the fae any different at all from Ireland to, let's say, the U.S.? Yes, I do. How so? It's hard to explain, really. I suppose I'm just so used to my own, Yeah. And I'm so comfortable with them. Like, there's a place now that I've been going the last few years, and there's a little leprechaun family. And they come out and talk to me. And I've got so used to them being there now that when I send the group off to journey and I'm drumming, and they go off journeying, and the next thing, there he is, just standing there with his arm on my leg, and his fist in his cheek, looking up at me, And I got used to that attitude with them. And the fairy folk, I find that it depends on what part of America I'm in as to whether I feel them strongly or not.
Sure.
So, for example, I find it difficult to connect with them down in the south of Florida.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I find it difficult to connect with the trees. I mean, I do connect, but not in the same way. And it took me ages to work out why. To me, the trees felt almost like they were asleep.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't really aware. And then, of course, when I went down, I asked permission to go down through their roots. I went into the sea.
Okay.
And so I realized they didn't have the depth of the roots that my trees have here.
Right.
So that made a difference. But when I was in North Carolina, oh my goodness, it was like I was being tickled all the time by them. They were there everywhere. You know, jumping all over me.
Happy to see somebody that could connect and talk with them.
Yeah, I mean, and they were jumping over other things like the cat and everything, you know, and the cat was going crazy, trying to get them off. Yeah.
Oh, Amantha, I just love talking with you. We could do this for another hour, you know. But I know you're busy. You're going to be heading out in a couple of days. You want to tell us a little bit about where people can find you if they want to join in with a tour or a class? Where are you going to be?
Well, the tours are also under the Celtic Soul Journeys.
Okay.
And you'll see that there. I do tours of sacred sites in Ireland, the sacred sites being pre-Celtic, pre-Christian. And most of them are at least 5,000 years old. And on the whole, they tend to be goddess-focused sites. Yeah. Ireland was a matrifocal and then matriarchal rather than then matrifocal tradition. We have mountains here, the Paps, that are the oldest place of continued worship of the Great Mother throughout Europe. Over 5,000 years of continuous worship. And so we go to those places and we attune, we do ceremony in some of the places, and we have activations. We do activations in some of those as well. So we do inner work as well as outer work. And people do find that it changes them. I do tend to do more women-only ones. I do some mixed, and occasionally I do couple ones, couples, which is quite nice too. And all of that would be under Celtic Soul Journeys.
Okay.
I also do rites of passage and ritual, which I love working with.
Yeah, she does. And that's a great one too, that we're going to have, I'm hoping one of these days, maybe next year in 2017, the next time you come over to teach for Star Nations Academy, that we can actually do one of those other classes here, especially.
Yeah, that would be lovely to do, say, maybe rites of passage, you know.
Yep, I would like to see that done here in Wisconsin, that's for sure. So I want to thank you, Amantha. I know that you're very busy and you're going to be heading out. I think you said on the 7th, or you're leaving for a destination.
Yes, I'm leaving on Sunday.
Yeah. So I'm glad you could fit this in for us and actually be with us live.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, Nessie. Anytime. It's lovely to chat with you.
Well, you know, Amantha and I had done radio shows for Sacred Hoop and Star Nations Network for a couple of different shows where they were recorded. And so this is a treat to have Amantha with us live so that you could connect with her. Because Kelly Spencer in the chat room, she's saying, Shay. Sha. She's saying Sha.
Yes, Sha, yeah. Sha is yes.
Yes.
Sha. It's spelled like C, S-E-A.
Yeah, I saw that pop up. And
Good for you, Kelly.
Yeah. So, you know, we're trying something new. At least I am. It's trying to get people like Amantha with us here at Star Nations Live. And so that we can give a break to Lily so she doesn't have to produce. The Mr. Savaz can actually be someplace else and we can do this. Although I missed her. I really missed you, Lily, at the very beginning.
I miss you, Lily. Come home.
I needed a little technical help at the beginning. So anyway.
Well, thank you, Nessie, for taking the time to do this and organizing it.
Aw. And we'll do it again soon because everybody loves listening to the stories. Maybe we'll have story hour or something, one of these calls, and you can tell us a
Maybe.
story. All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining Amantha and I, and we'll try to do another chat with me, with another person, another time. Okay? All right. Have a good rest of the day, everybody. Amantha, you want to stay on the line, Amantha?